Hey guys, it's Dan, aka Spiffy. Just wanted to have a little conversation. The subject of buying fans, as in buying vintage fans and buying from collectors and from eBay and Craigslist and whatnot, has come up a lot, as well as trading. And so I know a lot of new and up and coming collectors watch my videos, so I wanted to discuss that. First of all, I do sell fans. They're not anything that I sell like professionally. They're not anything that I'm a store or I generally don't even refurbish them. I used to, but pretty much what I find and sell is the same sort of thing that I would, expect you to find if you were on eBay, or except that you're buying it from somebody who knows what they're talking about. So, I'm not going to go through and do a new paint job or new bearings or anything like that, but I can check it over and, make sure that it's working at least at the time that I tested it. Sometimes I'm able to hang them up and do videos. Other times I can just make sure that the motor power is up, which, that's not going to catch everything. But again, it's the same thing is true if you're buying a fan on eBay. But I do sell them. I have several for sale threads on vintageceilingfans.com. I also have them on DT Vintage Fans, and I also have them on the iHeart Fans, although those sites are a little bit less, I don't check them as frequently. They're a little bit less popular. So that's first things first. But I want to address just buying fans in general, because a lot of people are interested. And there are a lot of other people that you can deal with, both on eBay and off, other collectors and things like that. And unfortunately, we have a lot of unscrupulous people in this interest and hobby and whatnot. And so you don't want to trust everybody. I don't really know how else to say it. I've been buying and selling and trading fans with other collectors since the 90s, and I've had my share of run-ins with other people. And I'd like to think that I'm as scrupulous a guy as you can find, but I've definitely had my share of bad experiences. So I want to talk a little bit about ways to address that. First of all, I highly recommend not doing trades unless you have good reason to know and trust the other party in the trade. Because the problem with the trade is one person has to send first. And, there's no way around that, you can say, well, we're both going to send the fans at the same time, but in all honesty, one person has to send first. When I do trades, I've learned from my own experience that unless it's somebody that I've been dealing with and I know personally and I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that I can trust them, I never send first. And that may seem kind of unfair. Why do I always get the advantage? But my argument for that is I have a lot of different websites up. I have a lot of different videos up. I'm known by pretty much everybody. If I was somebody that was going to screw you, you would not only know by now, but also you would have plenty of opportunity to make it known and to cause problems for me. So, I pretty much will not do a trade with somebody that I don't know well unless they're willing to send first, excuse me. So, my advice for most, unless it's somebody that you really feel you can know and trust, just don't do trades. I've seen so many trades go badly. So many times where one person sends their stuff and then the other person doesn't send anything at all. They disappear off the face of the earth. They send a box with scrap parts in it instead of what they were supposed to send. Oh yeah, it's going to be in the mail tomorrow. It's going to be in the mail next week. Oh, somebody I know threw it out. I'm sorry. There's nothing I can do now. I've heard every excuse in the book. So like I said, just be very cautious doing trades. If you do want to do a trade with somebody, feel free to message me, preferably not on YouTube because I don't generally check those messages, but on Facebook or via email or whatever, and say, hey, so-and-so wants to trade. Are they trustworthy? And I don't know everybody, but I know most of the players in this game, and will give you my honest opinion and experiences on whether or not it's somebody you should deal with. Like I said, I hate to say it, but there's just a lot of guys in this hobby that you shouldn't deal with. And I honestly feel like the reasoning for that is because anytime you have a hobby that focuses on things, where you collect things, and things are so cool, fans, cars, guitars, whatever else is that people collect, it's so easy to focus on material possessions, fans, etc., and lose sight of people. And I've had plenty of people that I consider to be good friends of mine that were also involved in fans that allowed a fan that they wanted to come between our friendship. And in my opinion, if a thing can destroy a friendship, then it wasn't a real friendship in the first place. So, or money sometimes is the case, you know. And so I'm very, very skeptical. But like I said, if you are interested in finding out more about somebody, like I said, I know most of that. I've been doing this since before there were websites for it. You know, as far as vintage ceiling fans go, I think me and Adam have been doing it for the longest. Obviously, the guys at Two Antique Fans have been doing it for decades before us. But as far as the vintage ceiling fans are concerned, yeah. So that's the first thing. Like I said, I'm just, you know, I'd be very cautious doing trades. Second thing is, if you're going to buy from somebody, first things first, use PayPal. Unless you're meeting them in person. Seriously, just use PayPal. Not everybody has a PayPal account, sign up for one. All it takes is a bank account. If you don't have a bank account, you know, because the thing about PayPal that makes it so advantageous is that if you send the money and they don't send you anything, you can file a claim, and the burden of proof is on them to prove that they sent something. And so if they legitimately didn't send anything, then you get your money back. I mean, the other advantage of that even is if, you know, you send your money and they mean to send it, but something happens to them. They win the lottery or die in a car accident the day after they get your money and never send your fan, and PayPal will confirm that nothing was sent and you get your money back. Now, above and beyond that, there's not a whole lot of recourse if they send you something but it's not what you were buying. You know, that's a lot tougher. That's a lot tougher to deal with. You know, PayPal will pretty much just determine if there was a box that was sent from their zip code to your zip code, and if yes, then they get their money. So it's still not foolproof, but there's a lot more protection in it than there is in a money order, which the only way to deal with that would be to that's a postal fraud, or I can't remember the term, but it's a lot bigger deal. So, like I said, if you use PayPal, you know, because 9 times out of 10, the problem isn't, somebody sending something else. It's them not sending anything at all. So, there's that. Second thing is, if you're going to buy vintage fans, know that they're vintage fans. Which means that just because it's working perfectly now, or they say it's working perfectly, you can't guarantee that it'll be working perfectly by the time it gets to your doorstep. And I have this thing because I buy and sell Hammond organs as well as fans, and there's a lot more to go wrong in a vintage vacuum tube and mechanical organ than there is in a fan. And so I always have people say, do you guarantee it, or have you completely refurbished it, or whatever the case may be. And what I always tell them is, you're buying a 50-year-old organ. It may work perfectly right now, and I may have done everything within my power to ensure that it works perfectly right now, that doesn't mean it's going to work perfectly tomorrow. So I would never buy a vintage fan, even if it's new in the box, because stuff happens just from sitting over years. In fact, sometimes it's worse from sitting than it is if it had been used gently over the years. But stuff happens. Sorry, I thought they said it was just from sitting. They're vintage fans. You can't guarantee that they're going to work perfectly. And so if you're going to buy something vintage, always buy it with the understanding that even if they say it works perfectly, something may be wrong with it or something could go wrong with it tomorrow. Bearings, capacitors, all these things have a finite lifespan. Blades warp just from sitting, etc. Finishes tarnish just from sitting. So, pay what you would pay. Like if you go to the Habitat store or the thrift store or the Craigslist and you buy a fan, you don't know if it's going to work 100%. They may say it does, but you expect that. So don't have a different expectation just because it's coming from a fan collector. Even if I go over it and I say, yeah, it works perfectly, like I said, I can't guarantee. Capacitor was good when I tested it. I can't guarantee that the next time that you power it up, that's not going to be the straw that breaks the camel's back and the capacitor is going to fail. The bearings get jostled enough in shipping that they become noisy. So, don't pay $200 for a fan if you know you'd only pay $100 if it had some issues. Pay the $100 even if they say it's perfect, and because it might not be by the time it gets to you. And if they're not willing to take the $100, then like I said, if somebody's willing to guarantee it, that's on them. I would advise anybody selling not to guarantee something that's more than something that didn't just come straight from the store. Let's put it that way. And then the second thing is shipping damage, because the shipping companies are very hard on packages. I've had the best experiences with FedEx. I've had the worst with UPS. The Postal Service is kind of a crapshoot. I pretty much exclusively use FedEx. But, even with FedEx being better than UPS, a lot of stuff still gets damaged. People, I don't think, realize how fragile a fan motor is. They think because it's heavy and it's not glass that it's solid and it can withstand whatever, but it's so easy for them to be damaged. So, first of all, always get insurance. And if you're the buyer, I really advise opening an account with FedEx and sending your own shipping labels. Not only will it be cheaper for you, because you can get discounts that way, and a lot of times sellers like myself will increase the shipping charges a little bit because PayPal is going to take out fees. So if shipping costs me $20, I'll tell you it's $25, because by the time I get through with PayPal, if you send $25, I might only have $20 left. I'm making these numbers up. That's probably not the correct math, but you get the point. And plus, if FedEx tells me it's $13.50 to ship it, I'm going to round up to $15, because their quote is not always what they're going to charge me. They may tell me $13.50, they may charge me $15.50, or they may charge me $12, and I'm going to err on the high side because I'm not going to lose money. So if you have your own shipping account, you can save a little bit of money. But then, more importantly, if you need to file a claim, it's so much easier to file the claim on the package you received if it was also shipped with your account. And because I have a lot of fans sent to me, and if something is damaged, all I have to do is take pictures and set it up with my account, and then I deal with FedEx directly. The person who sold the fan to me doesn't have to deal with them at all. Excuse me. So, like I said, that's one thing. Make sure you gotta pack them well, And if you're the buyer, make sure your seller packs them well. If they're not willing to pack as you request, then don't buy it, because there's a good chance it's going to show up destroyed. So the most important things I always tell people is to make sure that nothing can move around in the box, because if something can move around, what's going to happen is the heaviest thing, the motor, is going to move to the bottom of the box, and it's going to be in a position where it can be damaged. And the second thing is to make sure that the motor, which again is the most fragile thing unless you're shipping glass, cannot touch the sides or the bottom of the box, because once the motor can touch the sides, or especially the bottom, then when that box gets an impact, the motor is going to take that impact, and that's when you're going to start to see damage. So if somebody, I've seen people who just had a box where they filled it up with packing peanuts and then wrapped the motor in like a layer of bubble wrap and then threw it in there. And then, fill up the rest of the space with bubble wrap. And you may think, well, there's tons of peanuts in there. Excuse me, the peanuts. You may think there's tons of peanuts in there. This is going to be perfectly okay. But the problem with that is that in all the movement of shipping, that motor that's only wrapped in one layer of bubble wrap is going to work its way through the peanuts and contact the bottom of the box, and then it's going to get damaged. I had a friend of mine ship me a fan that the UPS store packaged, and that's how they packaged it, and it ended up destroyed. So what I usually do is I say, you put a layer of something on the bottom of the box that can't move around. Thick styrofoam, layers of bubble wrap, layers of towels, layers of blankets. I've seen people have vertical sheets of cardboard, like not flat cardboard, but like this. Egg crates, anything that you can do that creates a layer at least this thick on the bottom of the box. Then you wrap the motor in something. Then you put the motor there. Then you wrap all the other pieces, and you use the other pieces to fill in the space so the motor can't move around. And then you do the same thing at the top of the box. You put a layer of stuff so that to fill in the space at the top, so not only when the impact comes in the top, it still can't hit the motor, but also because then the box is full, then it's less likely to move around. So packing is really important. I always put fragile stickers on my box and this side up stickers on my box. Some FedEx drivers say they handle the box better with those. Some drivers don't. They're free from FedEx, so there's no reason not to do it. So all that's really important. What else? I'm trying to think. I should have wrote like an outline or something of all the things I wanted to mention. Like I said, there's just certain people that frequently buy and sell fans that you can, trust, and there's certain people that you can't. Also, there's certain people that you want to stay away from, I guess I'll say, if you're a fan collector that's underage. Not everybody is scrupulous. Not everybody wants to deal appropriately with kids, and so be very careful of who you interact with. I wish it wasn't the case. I wish that that everybody in this community of hobbyists and professionals were all wonderful people, but some of them are not, and that's something that really bothers me. I've definitely had my share of bad experiences, and I hate to see other people go through it as well. I'm not going to name any names, except that when you put your stuff on eBay as a business, then I feel like you've opened yourself up to reviews and scrutiny and things like that. So I will tell you, there's a couple people on eBay that consistently sell vintage and collectible fans. First one is Brian Hicks. He's a good friend of mine. He goes over all his stuff a lot more thoroughly than anybody else I know that sells it. And it's not going to be cheap, but you're going to get good stuff. So I definitely would suggest dealing with him. I think his eBay name is just Brian Hicks or something like that. Even if it's not, he puts his name in his listing. There's another guy that sells a lot of things on eBay. His name is Adrian Parado. He uses a pseudonym on eBay. I think it's Joey Patrick or something like that. He sells a lot of vintage fans. Myself and dozens of other people have had bad experiences dealing with him. Either not sending what he's supposed to send, or sending something that is not what is promised, or just deliberately misrepresenting stuff, or just and so on and so forth. So I would definitely discourage anyone from buying from him. If you're going to buy from him, just be very wary. Like I said, he sells under a pseudonym, and I believe that pseudonym changes from time to time, but all of his stuff comes out of the Tampa, Florida area, so I would be very cautious buying anything on eBay that comes from Tampa, Florida. The third guy that typically sells a lot of fan stuff, his name is Tom Dreesen. I don't know if he has an eBay store currently or not. I bought from him on eBay in the past, and I've never had any problems dealing with him. Other than that, pretty much the majority of the sales that you see on eBay are not guys that sell fans on a consistent basis. They're just somebody that happens to have a fan to sell, whether it's a collector that's downsizing a bit, or there's somebody that found a fan in their basement or took it out of their house or whatever. And you just, you always want to buy under the assumption that the person that's selling has no idea what they're talking about, because that's almost always the case. I've seen stuff on eBay that's been misrepresented, but not deliberately. The seller just didn't know any better. They had a picture of an old Hunter low profile, but the fan that was actually for sale was a Hunter Summer Breeze, and they could not tell that they were not the same thing, and you couldn't tell them that they were not the same thing. So again, you just want to look carefully. You want to ask a lot of questions. I'm not really big on dealing with eBay anymore, to be honest. I used to buy and sell on eBay a lot, and I have gotten away from it because as a seller, the fees have gotten outrageous, and it's become a lot easier to have problems with buyers with the way the policies have changed. And it hasn't honestly been that great for buyers either. It's been the policy changes have, I guess, I don't know if they've been intending on making things easier for both buyers and sellers, but they've had the opposite effect. So I still look on eBay on a consistent basis, and I still, occasionally bid on stuff, but I don't put a lot of focus on eBay anymore because of that. So I'm trying to think of what other questions I've been asked that I wanted to address with this video. And I'm drawing a blank. Let's see, what did we go over? There was, like I said, just being cautious about doing trades, shipping, known eBay sellers, the advantages of using PayPal. I can't think of anything else. I know there's been other things that I've been asked, but that's about it. I know I generally won't buy or sell. I definitely won't buy under most circumstances if the fan's coming from outside of the continental U.S., just because shipping charges get outrageous when you get even into Canada, but especially anything beyond that, and it's usually not worth it for the type of stuff that I collect. I'll ship to other countries, but you gotta be willing to pay the shipping. I remember what else I was going to go to. So I've had a lot of problems in selling fans where people say, I want this fan, and then give me a shipping quote. Well, the problem that I have is the fan, I'm not a store, so everything's not in boxes ready to be sold. It's in boxes for storage. So to get a shipping quote, I got to pack it up, with all, we talked about all the proper ways to pack and stuff like that. And that takes time, and it takes materials, and it's a huge ordeal, at least for me. And so then I got to take the pack thing down to FedEx, and I got to get a quote, because I found that if I weigh it at home and measure it at home and use the website to get a quote, it's not accurate. So I take it down to FedEx, and then what will happen is that I'll give them the quote, and they'll say, oh, well, that's too much, I don't want it anymore. Or they'll say, okay, I'm sending the payment on Tuesday, and then they meant Tuesday 20 years from now, and the payment never comes. So and then now I've got this fan that's packed, ready to ship, taking up a lot more space than it did before. I've spent a day and packing materials cost getting it ready, and so I've lost time and money, and it's just been a headache. And there have been a lot of guys out there that say they want something and then never follow through. So what I do, and I would advise anyone else that's selling to do this, if your buyer is not going to be sending you their own shipping label, which is the first thing I recommend. Remember, if you're buying, get an account with FedEx, send your own shipping label. You don't even have to deal with this. You send the payment, they pack it and ship it, over and done with. But let's say you're buying from me and I'm doing the shipping myself. Or you're buying from somebody else and they're doing the shipping, whatever. So under those circumstances, I take a deposit. And that deposit is either 25% of the fan cost or $25, whichever is greater. So if it's a $30 fan, you got to send $25. If it's a $200 fan, you got to send $50. And I don't touch the fan until I have that deposit. It stays packed away in storage in my fan shop or wherever it's packed away. And that's just where it's going to be until I get the deposit. Once I get the deposit, then I will pack the fan. I will get you a shipping quote. the deposit is only refundable if it's my fault. So if I take your deposit and then I go to get the fan to pack it up, and it turns out I sold that fan years ago and I forgot, well, then you get your deposit back, or you can pick something else. or let's say I go to pack the fan and I drop it, and it's not easily repairable, and you don't want it anymore. Okay, that's fine. Those are all you get your deposit back. But if I go to pack the fan and I take your deposit and you say, never mind, I changed my mind, never mind, shipping's too much, I can't afford it after all, whatever, you don't get your deposit back. It's a non-refundable deposit. And then, so let's say I pack your fans, I've got your deposit, and then I get the shipping quote. Shipping's, let's say you're getting 3 fans, shipping's $50. You send the rest of your payment, and which includes the balance for the cost of the fan, the deposit, whatever. Let's say the fan was $30, you send $25, you send $5 plus whatever the shipping cost is, and then I ship. And I've only had, since I started doing that, which has been a couple years now, I've only had one person that has backed out of a deal, and they sent their deposit, I packed the fans, and I never heard from them again, so I kept their deposit, which I'm not crazy about that, because you paid for something, I'd like you to have it, but I never heard from them again. And I emailed them multiple times, are you going to send the rest of your payment? Never heard from them again. So on the one hand, I ended up with the fans packed, and I did spend the time and money packing them, but on the other hand, I was able to keep the deposit, which offset it, so, it ended up being a wash for me. So yeah, there's that. Other thing, if you're buying fans from me or selling fans from me, whatever the case may be, I'll let people know. I let them know ahead of time. I buy low and sell high. That's what I do. If you come visit me, I'll generally give you something, or I'll sell something pretty cheap. But other than that, I don't sell fans cheap. I don't give fans away. The reason is because I invest a lot of money. I'm not, I wish I lived somewhere like Texas or Florida or North Carolina, where you can find cool stuff on every corner. But I live in kind of the middle of nowhere, fan-wise. There's not a lot of cool stuff that turns up here, which means to find the stuff that I have, I have to hunt. I hunt online, I hunt offline, I go on road trips, I go to zillions of Habitat stores and thrift stores and everything else. And even if I pay $10 to $15 a fan, I end up spending a lot more in time and gas to find the stuff that I find. And then I store it. I have my fan shop, I have my organ shop, I have my storage units. I take the time and the money for that. And so I have a lot invested in everything that I have. And so I can't afford to sell fans $10, $15 a piece, even though technically that may be what I paid for them at the thrift store. But I've invested gas, I've invested storage money, I've invested a lot of time. And so, if you're selling a fan to me, I'm only going to buy it if it's pretty cheap, because that's the only way I can afford to do this. And if you're buying a fan from me, I can, I'm going to sell it on the higher end of the price spectrum, because again, I've got a lot of other costs and investments involved. And lucky for me and for others, not every collector is that way. Most collectors, I think, only buy and store what they can afford to, and so they don't come out of pocket for those type of expenses, and so they're able to buy a fan for $10, $15, $20 and turn around and sell it for $10, $15, $20. And I'm grateful for that, because then I'm able to buy from them, because if they were asking more, I wouldn't be able to. But at the same time, they're not paying the kind of money that I'm paying for the expenses that I accrue in this. So it's definitely a different sort of thing. So anyhow, if you want to buy fans or trade fans, I've got my for sale threads up on vintageceilingfans.com forums. If they're not at the top of the buy, sell, trade category, just search for massive. They all say massive. Massive Casablanca for sale thread. Massive Homestead for sale thread. And a lot of the stuff on them has been sold already. I've been pretty successful in selling a lot of my stuff, but I'm adding new stuff every week or every couple weeks or however often I find it. And I do have stuff that I sometimes have forgotten to put on there, or maybe didn't want to sell, but I'm thinking about selling, or whatever the case may be. So you can also go through and look at my photo bucket and just see if there's something you like. It doesn't hurt to ask, or even look at my videos. It doesn't hurt to ask. Even if I say it's not for sale, you say, hey, I really want this, what would you sell it for? Maybe you can convince me. Like I said, I also buy fans, and so, if you're interested in selling something, you know what I like if you watch my videos. So I hope this helped somebody. Like I said, I've gotten a lot of these questions and I wanted to answer them. So I really hope that this has been beneficial. If you have some more questions, post them. I look forward to talking to all of you. Again, the best thing to do, you can comment on the video, but the best thing to do is to shoot me an email or a Facebook message or to post within the Ceiling Fans Facebook group. Those are the things I check most frequently. I do check my video comments pretty often, but I don't check my YouTube inbox very often. So that would be the least effective way to message me. Hope you guys are having a great holiday season. Hope Santa brings lots of fans. Thanks for watching.